All right, so this Saturday, December 16th, we have UFC on Fox 26. It's going to be headlined by a couple of welterweights in Rafael Dos Anjos and Robbie Lawler, both former champions in their respective divisions. It's going to be an exciting fight. It's a really good card. It's a short card. There's only about 4 fights on this main card. It is definitely going to be exciting to watch. And like always, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for the main card. But this time, for this video, I got my main man, Chad Martin, with me, who's going to be making these picks with me. What's going on, Chad? How you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to be on.
Yes, sir. So for the we're going to be breaking down the main card. And on the first fight, we got a battle of top 10 light heavyweights in Galore, Teixeira and Misha Cirkunov. And Chad, since you're the guest here, I'm going to let you give your pick for this fight. Who you got in this one, man?
First fight, I was actually surprised looking at the odds. Misha's favorite in the fight. And
yeah.
He did lose quickly to Volkan Ozdemir before this fight. So
yeah.
That was kind of a weird finish. He was like trying to chase him down and Ozdemir caught him against the fence. But yeah, I still watching his fights. I don't see him being favored over an established top 5, top 10 guy like Glover Teixeira. I think Teixeira's got way better striking. His wrestling's I'd favor Glover in the wrestling.
Yeah.
And his jiu-jitsu's top notch as well. If Misha has an advantage, it's probably on the ground because he's elite level on the submissions. But even there, I just don't think that if he can get it down, he's going to finish Glover there. So I'm going to take Glover TKO round 2.
TKO round 2. Yeah, I think that's an interesting pick. Just like you said, Misha Cirkunov, he got caught in this last fight. I think it was like under a minute too, right? Or something like that.
He's been dominating the guys before that.
Yeah, I think he was undefeated in the UFC. I think that was his first loss in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was on a streak and he was on the come up. You know, he's one of the hottest prospects, you know, at the time, and he got caught. And like you said, I think sometimes he does have trouble pacing himself, especially where he just barged in and blitzed on Volkan Ozdemir and he caught him, even though it didn't look too hard. But I mean, he I guess it affected his equilibrium. He went down. But usually Cirkunov, especially in the Krylov fight, he was kind of poised, picking his shots, waited for opportunities, but he did get tagged a couple times in that fight. And then finally, when he caught Krylov, I think he hurt him and submitted him. So, you know, he's definitely well-rounded, I would say. And so is Glover, you know. But I think that in this fight, I just think that I want to say that Glover is headed towards the tail end of his career in terms of contending for a belt. And not only that, but he has lost 2 of his last 3 fights. To obviously, it was Anthony Rumble Johnson and Alexander Gustafsson, who are 2 of the top light heavyweights in the world. You know, Johnson caught him, I think it was in 13 seconds or something like that. He was able to knock him out. You know, he just caught him clean. And once you get hit by Anthony Johnson, you know that could be the end of the fight. Just one punch is enough to knock you out. Now, in the Gustafsson fight is where he really did look slow, man. I mean, he wasn't moving as well. The uppercut was landing all day for Gustafsson. And obviously, Gustafsson is one of the premier boxers in that division. His movement is really good. But he looked lost, man. I mean, Gustafsson was making it look easy. Wobbled him, I think, in the 2nd or 3rd round. Dropped him. Was close to putting him away before landing another combination that badly hurt him in the 5th round and was able to finish the fight there. Now, Glover is he's also well-rounded, you know, just like Cirkunov is. You know, his jiu-jitsu is really good, his wrestling, his power in both hands, his boxing is pretty good. But I just think, like I said earlier, that he's on the tail end of his career. I do think that he does not have much more to give. You know, and then he's one of the slower guys out there. You know, his footwork isn't that good. His head movement as well. He eats quite a bit of shots, or he has at least the past couple fights. So, you know, I'm gonna have to pick Cirkunov to outland him on the feet, to be smarter, to be more technical. I think he is equally as dangerous on the mat as Glover Teixeira. And I think that Cirkunov, like I said, is just going to pick his strikes. I think he's going to, you know, keep the distance because Glover does like to pressure and close the distance. I think if he sets up range, if he uses his jab, attacks the legs, then it'll open up some combinations later on during the fight. But I think I'm going to have to pick Cirkunov to win this fight via unanimous decision. Now, Chad, it's the first fight, and we just disagreed, but it's all in good fun, right?
We'll see what happens on fight night.
Yeah, yes, sir. And for the next one, we got a barn burner, man, between two welterweights in Santiago, Ponzinibbio, and Mike Platinum Perry. Who you got in this one?
Oh, man, this one's my pick for fight of the night. Both guys, high pressure, offensive-minded fighters. They don't really think too much on defense. I think Ponzinibbio thinks a little bit more about blocking punches with something other than his face, but they've gotten to this level with really good offensive tools. This one, it's a tough fight to call, but I wouldn't say it's like going to come down to who's going to land first. I think both guys have pretty solid chins.
Yeah.
But I think Ponzinibbio, he has more tools, more ways to finish the fight. And I think he's a little bit more experienced. He's got more octagon time than Perry. So
for sure.
I think he's gonna. I'm not gonna say outclass him, but out better him for a decision.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think some people are expecting a finish, especially because of both these guys have heavy hands. But I don't think so. I think this one goes the distance, too. I think the difference, though, will probably be, like you said, that Santiago is a little bit more technical with his strike. And I think he moves a lot better than Perry, too. I think Perry just kind of puts the pressure on, tries to unload, tries to catch you. And Ponzinibbio is really good at fighting on the inside, too. But I think in this fight, that's something that he's going to have to be careful with. Because, I mean, if Perry tags him, it can really hurt him. And it can, Perry has the kind of power that can put you away, especially with one shot, especially the way he loads on him, with all the power that he throws. But, yeah, I think Santiago is a little bit more well-rounded. I think he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His wrestling is improving ever since the Ryan LaFleur fight. Yeah, like you said, I do think that Santiago is just going to be the smarter fighter. I think if he game plans sort of like Alan Jouban did, because Jouban is a very technical striker, and the way he attacked the legs and the body and kind of slowed Perry down and kept him at bay.
Santiago he's got really good leg kicks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I think that if he attacks the leg and attacks the body too, and then gets Perry to drop those hands, and then he unloads on the face, attacks the head of Mike Perry, I think you can hurt him a couple times. But, yeah, I'm going to have to pick Santiago to win this fight by unanimous decision. But it should be a fun one.
Definitely. For sure.
Yeah, so for the next fight, we got a couple of featherweights in Josh Emmett and number 3 ranked RIcardo Lamas. I think he's number 3 in the division. And Chad, you and I both know that sometimes when you get these young fighters, they're hungry. When they're in the spotlight like this, right, in the co-main event, their first crack at a top opponent, with an opportunity to catapult themselves up in the division, they're motivated, and sometimes these fights are dangerous, especially with, I think Lamas having more to lose in this fight, especially being that, Emmett's unranked and he's coming in here, going up against one of the elite featherweights. But how do you see this one playing out? You think Emmett poses a challenge, or you think it goes down similarly to the Jason Knight fight?
Emmett's definitely a challenge. He, I think this is his first fight coming down to 45, or maybe his second. He's a good fighter, and he beat Hot Sauce Holtzman early on in his UFC career. He's a well-rounded. He's probably going to be a little bit bigger than Lamas. I'd say his biggest strength is going to be his size and his strength, but Lamas, he's elite at 45. He's got I think he's going to be a little bit better everywhere technically, and he's just been fighting at this level for longer, so I'd have to favor Lamas to win a decision. But it is a short notice replacement. He was expecting Aldo. Well, not short notice, but relatively. He was expecting a bigger, higher profile fight, so don't know how that's going to affect his mindset, if he's going to be maybe looking past a guy that, like you said, is hungry, wants to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
highest profile fight that he's had in the UFC so far, and Josh Emmett. So I'd pick Lamas by decision, but would not be surprised if Emmett pulled out a decision himself. But that's the other problem, is I don't see a finish in this fight, and I think Lamas is the better fighter. So over 15 minutes, I think it's gonna shine through.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on this pick too. I think that, Lamas has been so good for so long, and he's fought some of the best. Now, I don't think, like you said, I don't think that, Josh Emmett is going to go in there and get schooled the same way Jason Knight. I think Jason Knight, his defense is atrocious. He gets hit a lot, takes a lot to the chin. And, Emmett, he moves pretty well. Oh, yeah, big time. Against Benitez, he was slow. Doesn't move very much, so it was target practice for RIcardo Lamas, especially, being that Lamas is one of the best fighters in that division. But I do think there is some fight in Josh Emmett. I think he's strong. He's a very strong featherweight. The wrestling, you could probably get Lamas to the ground a couple times, but Lamas is really good, especially off his back, especially in that the submission victory over Charles Oliveira. And Oliveira being a really good jiu-jitsu practitioner, that was a really solid win for him. It demonstrates that he's well-rounded as well. But I think it's going to be competitive. I'm not going to rule out Josh Emmett. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised either if Emmett comes in here motivated, utilizes his wrestling, and really gives Lamas all he can handle. So, but at the end of the day, I just think that Lamas is too experienced. And it's not necessarily just about experience, but Lamas still has it. He's still very talented, very skilled, fundamentally sound. So I'm going to have to pick Lamas to win this fight too, via unanimous decision. And now for the main event of the evening, man. This is the fight that I'm most excited to see. We got Rafael Dos Anjos and Robbie Lawler, the two welterweights. We all know RDA is a former lightweight, former champion at that division, beaten Anthony Pettis, had competed with some of the best, Donald Cerrone, so on and so forth. So he goes on a losing streak. It was to, he lost his belt to Eddie, and then after that, he lost to, who was it? Oh, Tony, right?
Yeah, he lost to Tony first.
Yeah, Tony. So, he decides that it's time to move up. He looks pretty good so far. There was the decision win over Safadine, and then the submission over Neil Magny. Though he looked really good, especially on the ground, and he's well-rounded himself too. But Robbie Lawler is obviously a different challenge, a former champion, as tough as they come. It's going to be an exciting one. It's definitely going to prove, whether or not RDA does belong to be a contender in the 170-pound division. So who do you got in this one? Who do you favor?
Man, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years ago? This would have been a champion versus champion.
Oh yeah,
fight.
For sure.
Awesome fight, and
yep.
We're gonna get to watch it for free. I don't think they're any worse.
Yeah.
Than that time. So really excited about this fight. I've been going back and forth on who I'm gonna pick, even in this phone conversation. So
yeah, same here.
It basically there's some unknowns. Dos Anjos, he's one of the many guys that looks better now that he's stopped cutting to 155.
Oh yeah, because he was a big 155 pounder.
What's that?
He was a big 155 pounder. That's a lot of weight to cut.
Yeah, he was hurting himself to make that weight. Now he doesn't have to kill himself to make weight, so he's able to come in, be even more explosive than he was at 55. He's always been one of the more well-rounded fighters in the sport, and Robbie's always been Robbie. He has a way of pulling these guys that might be more technical into them into brawls, which is art in itself. Very impressive how he can pull that off. And Robbie's got good takedown defense. He's got solid grappling himself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's tough. I think if Dos Anjos can get his leg kicks going, like he's done so many times before, chop Robbie's legs down, make Robbie overcommit, and then get a well-timed takedown, I think he can control the fight from top position grappling, maybe get a submission.
Yeah. But
if Robbie pulls him into a dogfight, he can put his lights out. So my pick's going to be Dos Anjos, third-round submission, but I wouldn't be surprised if Robbie knocked him out or Robbie just outclassed him for a decision.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, obviously both these guys are former champions in different divisions, you know, and coming off losses, you know, or, you know, lost their belts and whatnot, you know, but exactly like you said, I don't think they're any worse. I just think that, you know, Tyron caught Robbie Lawler, and Tyron's, you know, arguably the hardest, you know, hitter in that division. The same thing for RDA. You know, Eddie just caught him. I do think he was the better fighter than Eddie Alvarez. I think he just got caught. And then the same thing for Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson's in a different league, man. I mean, he's well-rounded. You know, and you see where he's at right now. So, you know, those were, you know, really good fighters that he lost to. You know, things happen, and now he looks rejuvenated. Just like you said, you know, not having to cut all that weight. Very well-rounded is RDA. His ground game is really good. You know, and like you said, the leg kicks, the striking. He has a chin on him, too. You know, and the same thing for Lawler. You know, the more punishment he takes, the harder he comes at you. You know, so I think that's one of the scary things about Robbie Lawler. But I think the leg kicks of RDA, like you said, they can be an issue. I think if he attacks low and attacks the body and tries to slow Robbie Lawler down, because it's very hard to break Lawler. You know, he's as tough as they come. He's always pressing forward, always pressing the action. You know, you saw that in the beginning of the Donald Cerrone fight. You know, and other fights like the Rory McDonald, the Carlos Condit fights. You know, he's as tough as they come. And you know, he was a champion for a reason. He's looking to get back into that, you know, the mix for a title shot. And he's that close, but I mean, RDA's in his way, and I think that RDA is going to do a good job of being smart in this fight, you know, and not getting into a dogfight, because that's one thing that he does not want to do. I think if he's more technical with his strikes, if he picks his shots, you know what I mean, and you know, and just plays it not necessarily safe, you know, being aggressive, but not necessarily taking unnecessary risks. And I think if he does that, he has a legitimate chance of being able to win this fight. You know, well-rounded, I think. And his wrestling, I think Lawler may be a bit of a better wrestler, but RDA is a strong grappler, and his ground game is very good as well. So I think that he can win this fight in a variety of different ways, but I think it's going to go the distance. I do think they go for all 5 rounds. Both guys are in great shape, and but I think I'm going to pick RDA to win this fight, man, via unanimous decision.
All right, man. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for that fight as well. I don't know. I said Ponzinibbio and Perry's pick for fight of the night, but
yeah,
man, I don't know.
No, yeah, they're
in your description. I might switch it to Lawler Dos Anjos.
No, yeah, I mean, both are really good fights. I think this whole card is filled with entertaining fights. You know what I mean? So it's definitely going to be a fun card to watch. I think they're tough fights to pick too, man. Because just like you said, I was thinking about the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight and the Mike Perry fight and who I was going to pick all day. And even when you were talking, I was still trying to, man, I'm like, who am I going to go with? But, you know, these fights are going to be competitive. They're going to be close, man. But you said you picked Teixeira and who you picked Lamas.
Lamas, Ponzinibbio, and Dos Anjos.
Yeah, I think we got the same picks except for the Cirkunov fight. But it is what it is, and we'll see what goes down. So. But thanks, Chad. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
No, yeah. So we'll definitely be doing this again soon. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this Fox card. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to follow Chad on Twitter. I'm going to leave his Twitter, the link to his Twitter in the description down below, and also the link to his YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go and subscribe. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to stay tuned for more content.